Hello everyone, welcome back. I hope your day is starting off just fantastic. Let me introduce this video with this appropriate picture taken in our country, posted on the I Choose Canada group by Curtis, a snow-covered vineyard in the Okanagan. Yes, even in the beautiful Okanagan Valley in central British Columbia, where they grow grapes and make fantastic wine. I guess those vineyards are covered in snow now because winter has arrived. Well, I guess it hasn't officially arrived. It hasn't officially arrived from an astrological point of view, but the snow's here, that's for sure. And snow makes me happy because I love our country, whether it's green or white. I'm going to share some information with you today. I want to ask you a question of whether you believe this was an unintentional consequence or an intentional consequence, whether they did it on purpose or not, them being, well, the orange-colored person to the south that runs the United States. Did he do this on purpose? Now, we've talked a lot about Donald Trump and his buffoonery and threats and insults on countries all over the world, including ours. And the reaction that has been received from consumers in Canada, our boycott of everything to do with the United States, the plunging number of Canadians that are traveling to the United States, the 97% drop in purchases of wine and spirits in Canada from the United States, which incidentally has really benefited vineyards like this one in the Okanagan and in Ontario and other provinces in Canada. We know how consumers have reacted. I think that was a little bit of an unintended consequence. I think that was a little bit of an unintended consequence that perhaps that orange stupid person down south didn't really think would happen. How could he not think that would happen? If I berate and insult and threaten everyone, they might not like me and they might actually change their behaviors towards the country I run. I say unintended in quotation marks because any rational person would have known that those would have been expected type behaviors in response. But it's more complicated than that. And I'm going to show you a clear example of how one of the most important, biggest upcoming economies in the world has shifted, like all other economies, but this is a beautiful example, and how that shift will benefit Canada and hurt the United States. And I think some people misunderstand what I'm trying to say. There's a tendency to view things as either black or white, like the picture behind me. It almost looks like a black and white photograph. But I'm not saying that the United States economy is going to collapse and the whole world is going to turn away from the United States and stop trading with the United States, and they will crumble into oblivion and the rest of the world will prosper. That's inflammatory rhetoric. The United States economy is so big and has so much momentum, and it's made up of 350 million consumers and thousands of companies that operate worldwide. There's really not one person, no matter how orange and stupid they are, that can derail that economy to the point where it completely collapses. But there is one stupid orange person that can change the trajectory of the way the world functions in a way that I have to ask you whether you believe it's intended or unintended, because in my opinion, it's expected. Narendra Modi is the Prime Minister of India. India is the most populated country on earth. India is 5th in the world now, ranked by GDP. You can see on this chart. But if you look at the GDP growth rate, this column right here, you'll see that India is growing at 8.15% per year. Within a short period of time, India could surpass Japan and Germany and become the 3rd largest GDP in the world. India has vowed to never take any BS from any country on earth ever again. India has a strong military with nuclear capabilities. India, like Canada, enjoyed a very good relationship with the United States before the orange stupid person was elected. And India, like Canada, has been threatened and insulted by the orange stupid person that's running the United States right now. And India, like Canada, has had its exports hit with tariffs by the orange stupid person in the United States. Now, unfortunately, in Canada and North America, we hear a lot in the media about what the orange stupid person is doing. Whenever he posts something ridiculously stupid, that's what our media reports. If you were to follow the news in India and read some of their publications, in this case the India Express, you would read articles like this: Politics trumps economics. Yai Shankar, I hope I said his name right, flags global risks in veiled reference to the US. He is India's Minister of External Affairs. what he says is probably more important for us to know than what the orange stupid person says on a daily basis on Twitter and Truth Social down in the United States. This is an era where politics increasingly trumps economics, and that is not a pun. In an uncertain world, it is all the more important that we continuously diversify supply sources to guarantee our national needs. With these considerations in mind, we are today endeavoring to forge new trade agreements and promote fresh connectivity initiatives, he said. That sounds a lot like what we hear from our Prime Minister, Mark Carney. And in fact, it's not that it just sounds similar, but the two countries are embarking on the same sort of plan. This article here, published on November 26 from Fortune, Canada cozies up to India for trade deal after years of strain as Trump continues pushing the world into new alliances. The leaders of India and Canada were adamant that this work proceed as quickly as possible so that timing is going to be expeditious. And it's not a coincidence that you can find more articles like this published in India, Canada to resume trade talks next week, says Piyush Goyal. And again, I hope I said that name right. Mr. Piyush Goyal is India's Minister of Commerce. The India-Canada CEPA track is also being revived. Canada and India are looking at CEPA, and next week will kickstart conversations around that, Goyal said. And with that backdrop, and with these talks scheduled to start between India and Canada, on Reuters, India-Canada trade deal could guarantee some Canadian pulse sales, Envoy says. India's government is considering guaranteeing Canada ongoing pulse crop sales so its farmers keep growing the vital protein source. Indian High Commissioner to Canada, Dinesh Patnaik, said during a visit to Saskatchewan. You still might not know what pulse sales are, but they're lentils. There's also this deal that was reported in the news November 28th. India and Canada near a $2.8 billion uranium deal. Recent reports from the Globe and Mail show that both nations are nearing the end of negotiations. This supply deal would replace the earlier $350 million five-year agreement from 2015, but it's nearly 10 times the value and twice the duration. So in effect, what's happening while the orange stupid person in the United States is insulting every country on earth, as those countries are beginning to ignore him and start working on deals together to increase their diversity and set up new supply and trade agreements among themselves, the whole world. And this is not to say that all the countries are ignoring the United States and don't want to trade with the United States anymore. But the fact is, at this point in time, there's no point putting any effort into that. It's like the law of diminishing returns. And in this particular example, you have India. The orange stupid person has imposed 50% tariffs on India, on exports from India into the United States. So obviously, goods from India to the United States are going to cost American consumers and businesses more to import because they'll have to pay this 50% tariff tax, the Trump tariff tax. So the United States will probably buy less things from India. There's no point in India trying to expend effort in expanding trade with the United States. In fact, what will happen is the orange stupid person eventually will lower those tariffs a little bit. Maybe he'll lower them from 50% to 30%, and then he'll announce on social media that he's made a fantastic trade deal. We've made this new amazing trade deal with India. But from the Indian perspective, this isn't a new amazing deal. This is just dealing with a stupid orange person. This is how you have to deal with the stupid orange person, is just to, well, go along with it and hope he leaves soon. And perhaps someone who's not as economically illiterate takes over. But in the meantime, countries like India, in this example, India and Canada, are looking to negotiate and make arrangements with countries that you can actually deal with rationally. And so now let me get back to the question I asked you at the beginning of the video. Is this an unintended consequence? Or is this exactly what the United States or the orange stupid person, what they wanted? Is this what he wanted? Why would a president of the United States want the whole world negotiating together and getting closer and tying themselves economically together, excluding them? Why would they want to promote that and lessen their influence in the world? Now, the United States, like I said, still has the world's largest economy. No one's going to just stop trading with the United States. And the United States isn't going to simply cut off trade with other countries. They're a large consuming nation, the biggest consuming nation. But the trends, what Donald Trump has done is he hasn't sunk the U.S. ship, but he's changed its course so that that course is heading away from everyone else. And everyone else is going to work together. And he's going to be on his own. He's going to lead his country so that they're on their own. Was this an unintended consequence, or was this actually his plan? I call him the orange stupid person because no rational person would have a plan like this. What's the upside of that plan? I think that it is his plan. It's what he wanted, but it's what a stupid person would want. It doesn't make any sense. If the plan actually made sense, you wouldn't have headlines like this in the United States. Reported on Bloomberg December 1st, Costco joins companies suing the United States government for refunds if Trump's tariffs fall. Costco's lawyers wrote that the complaint, their suit that they're filing against the United States government, filed on November 28th in the U.S. Court of International Trade, was prompted due to the uncertainty that refunds will be guaranteed for all businesses that have been paying duties, tariffs, taxes, if the Supreme Court declares that the tariffs are unlawful. Now, you may ask yourself this question if you believe this guy when he said, well, the United States isn't going to pay the tariffs. We're going to make China pay the tariffs. Canada's paying the tariffs. India will pay the tariffs. U.S. companies won't pay the tariffs. That's not how tariffs work. If you believe that, you might ask yourself, well, why is Costco suing him to get their money back? They're pre-suing him. They're filing a court case in case the Supreme Court rules that his tariffs were illegal, because they fear that even if the Supreme Court rules that the tariffs were illegal, they fear that he might not want to give the money back, that he will just say, oh, well, I guess I've got the money now, I'll just keep it. Not only are they not expanding their relationships or doing deals or setting the pace or leading the way for the world, they're actually being sued by the very companies that operate in their own economy. Their own corporations that exist in their own country are suing their own government because their policies are so inanely stupid. While that's happening, other countries like India and Canada are being drawn closer together. This will go down in history as the biggest disaster, the biggest blunder economically by any U.S. administration in history. How far this will set the United States back, not just because of the Canadian boycott and the Indian Swadeshi that's going on, and the worldwide boycott or decrease in travel to the United States, the worldwide boycott for consumers deciding not to buy American goods and instead buy goods from their own countries, and to buy goods from countries that are more friendly with their own. Despite all that that's being led by consumers, nations themselves, their leaders, are guiding their countries into more friendly relationships with each other, excluding the United States. And my question, as I asked at the beginning of the video, was this an intended consequence? Was this the plan all along? Or was it an unintended consequence that the orange stupid person just didn't consider? Now, you leave your comments in the comment section. Let me know what you think. But I have to believe that this is the plan, that this is what he wanted. And he started down this path, and as the consequences began to pile up and the news really wasn't that positive, his style is to just lie and say that everything's great and we're going to make America great again. Once those companies sue us for the money that we took from them in taxes, then America will be great. We'll have a big court case, U.S. corporations versus the government, and then we will achieve our greatness. In fact, that's what the orange stupid person has said in response to potentially having to pay back the tariffs. The tariffs facing the court challenge have raised about $90 billion so far. Trump warned back in August that the loss of his tariffs would destroy the American economy and lead to, quote, 1929 all over again, a Great Depression. If I have to pay the tariffs back, it'll be like 1929, a Great Depression. And I guess that was his plan, right? He wanted to make America great again, like in 1929. You just have to add a D to the hat. Make America the Great Depression again. But I guess he's saying that, projecting what he's going to do should the Supreme Court rule against him. He's not going to pay the tariffs back. I can't pay the tariffs back. That'll make America Great Depression again, like 1939. I want to make America great again, not Great Depression again. The Depression is not good. I know that much. I know I've imposed tariffs on the whole world, just like J. Edgar Hoover. He did it during the Great Depression. Wait a minute. If you let an orange idiot run your country, well, then I guess you can debate whether you're going to have an American Great Depression again. We wanted to make America great again, but we got a depression. Okay, I've had too much fun with this. Whether you believe it was an unintended consequence or a consequence of having an orange idiot running your economy, either way, the result will be that the rest of the world increases its trade amongst each other, and the United States remains more isolated. That's going to be the result, and this result will extend and endure for, I would say, a generation. Just because the idiot may not be the president in 3 years doesn't mean that the rest of the countries on earth are going to be ready to put their eggs in the United States basket. If all it takes in the United States, if all it takes is for a few million people to not vote, because the elections in the United States are a result of the way their electoral system works is on the order of 100,000 voters in certain swing states can result in an unexpected victory for one or the other side. If countries will not be willing to be at the mercy of a few 100,000 Americans that may, for whatever reason, say, yeah, hell yeah, I'm going to be voting for the orange guy because I like his hat. Make America Great Depression again I like the sound of that. Like, come on, are you crazy? Countries have long-term plans, and the paths are set now. And if you're American and you're watching this, I'm sorry if you're getting upset, but in 2028, if there's a change in government, don't look for all countries to come running back, ready to start increasing trade and making new deals and cozying up to the United States. This is not a one-term deal. Okay, this is something that will change the strategic outlook of the whole world with respect to your country, because your country has proven itself as just an unreliable partner to make deals with. We'll trade with you. We'll let you buy our stuff. There will be world commerce, but we're not going to rely on you. It's I'm sorry to say, but this will mark the hinge point where U.S. dominance and U.S. Leadership in the world economically is over. And it's going to be countries like India and China, which are growing faster and have 10 times as many people than the United States. They will drive the world economic path going forward. So leave your comments in the comment section. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to support my work on a monthly basis, consider becoming a channel member. And I will catch you all on the next one.